The story begins in Italy, where we see a gangster named Lorenzo and his son traveling in a car toward his winery. Lorenzo is not only a gangster, but also runs a wine business to convert his black money into white. When he reaches the winery, he finds the dead bodies of his men, brutally murdered. Shocked, Lorenzo notices one of his men still alive but terrified. Lorenzo tells his son to stay in the car, pulls out his gun, and walks inside. His man tells him that the killer is sitting inside. Lorenzo enters and is stunned to see dead bodies everywhere. He sees a man named Robert sitting calmly on a chair, the one who killed everyone. One of Lorenzo's men points a gun at Robert, but Robert doesn't look scared at all. Lorenzo confronts Robert, asking how he managed to kill so many men alone, and what he wants. Robert says that Lorenzo stole something that wasn't his, and now he wants it back. Lorenzo arrogantly replies that Robert won't leave alive. Robert gives him 9 seconds before he kills them. As the seconds end, Robert suddenly attacks and kills all 3 men in a flash. He then shoots the wounded Lorenzo and takes a key from him before leaving. Outside, he sees Lorenzo's son and tells him to quietly stay in the car. As Robert walks away, the boy shoots him, but Robert spares him, telling him to run. Injured, Robert drives off but loses consciousness on the highway near Sicily. A local police officer named Gio finds him and takes him to a doctor friend named Enzo. Enzo performs surgery and removes the bullet. When Robert regains consciousness, Enzo asks if he is a good or bad person. Robert replies, "I don't know." Enzo advises him to rest, but after some time, Robert recovers. Enzo gives him a walking stick and suggests he explore the small Sicilian town. Robert walks around and stops at a cafe where he lays tissue on the table before sitting, showing his cleanliness. A waitress named Amina brings him coffee. Meanwhile, Officer Gio comes with his daughter Gabriella and gives Robert his car keys, saying he didn't check his car or ask questions because he didn't want to know who Robert really is. At the CIA office, Agent Emma receives a call from Robert. He informs her about Lorenzo's winery and asks her to send a team. Emma realizes he's not an ordinary man, as even the police never found that place. She checks the winery via satellite and alerts her seniors. Back in town, Robert starts bonding with the locals. However, he is haunted at night by the memory of brutally killing people in the winery. One day at the cafe, he notices a boy named Marco receiving an envelope from the owner, clearly collecting protection money. Later, Robert and Amina become friends, and the town starts accepting him. One day, Robert sees Marco threatening a man named Angelo for money. Angelo can't pay, so Marco beats him up and demands double the amount next time. As Marco exits, he notices Robert watching but says nothing. Marco and his gang travel to Naples, where his older brother Vincent, a feared gangster, lives. Vincent plans to expand his operations and orders Marco to extort as much money as possible. Meanwhile, Robert buys fish from Angelo's shop, and Amina teaches him how to choose the best ones. Angelo refuses to take money, calling Robert a guest. Back at the winery, Emma and her CIA team uncover large quantities of drugs and black money. Emma's boss, Frank, is shocked that they had no prior intel. He tells her to find out everything about the man who gave them the tip. Meanwhile, Enzo tells Robert he's fully recovered. Robert then questions why Enzo and Gio never informed the police, given that he was shot. Enzo starts to answer. You ask, "Are you a good man or a bad one?" To which he replied, "I don't know," and only a good man would say something like that. After this, Robert starts packing his belongings and decides to leave the town. Just then, he sees all the townspeople running frantically. He learns that Marco's men have set Angelo's shop on fire. Seeing his shop burning, Angelo breaks down in tears and tries to run into the flames, but people stop him. Meanwhile, Robert sees Marco standing with his men, After witnessing everything, Robert decides not to leave the town until he resolves all these issues. The next day, everyone helps Angelo rebuild his shop. During the reconstruction, Gio sees the arsonists in the CCTV footage. He spots a black car and asks his officer to track it down and file a case against the culprits. Robert visits a cafe to meet Amina, who invites him to dinner. We then see Robert and Amina walking through the city, chatting and dining together. The next day, Robert goes to the cafe and spots Emma secretly taking his photo. He confronts her, asking if she's taking his picture. Emma then realizes that Robert is the man she's been looking for. Emma tells Robert that she could have brought the police to arrest him but chose not to. Robert responds that she can't scare him. Emma then accuses him of the dead bodies they found at the winery and asks if he killed them. Robert says, "I'm just an old man. I don't have the strength to kill people." Emma tells him to stay in town and leaves. Elsewhere, Gio goes to pick up his daughter Gabriella from school when he receives a threatening call from one of Marco's men. The man says they will kill Gabriella. Gio asks a teacher about her, and she informs him that some officers took Gabriella away earlier. Shocked, Gio goes to Marco's house, where Marco is with his men. Marco beats up Gio and threatens to kill his entire family if he interferes again. Gio seeks treatment from Enzo and informs him that the local gangsters are behind everything. Robert decides to fight back and starts practicing combat. During his training, Emma visits and tells him that she couldn't find any information on him. She asks if he plans to do something about Vincent, another gangster, but Robert doesn't respond. That night, Gio goes to dinner with his family. Marco and his men arrive and again threaten Gio, telling him he will now work for them. Marco then notices Robert staring at him. Angered, Marco starts threatening Robert. Robert calmly tells Marco to leave or suffer pain he won't be able to endure. Marco and his men laugh, but when Marco raises his hand towards Robert, Robert grabs and twists it painfully. Marco's men try to help, but Robert warns Marco to tell them to leave or be killed. In pain, Marco orders his men to go. Robert then tells Marco to leave his gun on the table and get out. Having been humiliated in front of everyone, Marco plans to kill Robert. He tells his men, "We'll kill the old man first, then everyone in that cafe." Suddenly, a car crashes into Marco's man and kills him. Robert arrives. He had sent the car. He kills another of Marco's men. Marco charges at Robert with a knife, but Robert overpowers him and stabs him multiple times, killing him. The next morning, police find the bodies of Marco and his two men along with some drugs. Meanwhile, a major explosion occurs in Rome, and people discover that the gangsters used the money from drug sales to fund the blast. Frank calls Emma and tells her to find the truth, as this case is connected to Lorenzo's winery. Emma visits the police chief and gives him a file with names of criminals she wants to interrogate. The chief takes her to one of them. Emma questions the criminal about the blast, and he gives her a location. The police raid the location and eliminate those responsible for the explosion. Meanwhile, the police chief visits Vincent's home, where people are mourning Marco's death. It turns out the chief works for Vincent. He warns Vincent that the CIA is in town, so he should stop his operations and lay low. Vincent doesn't like this and says he fears no one. The chief angrily tells him that they'll both get caught. Vincent, enraged, slashes the chief's wrist and says, "I just want to find my brother's killer and you will help me, or I'll kill you." Robert calls Emma and warns her that the people she's after are extremely dangerous and she should be careful. As Emma walks to her car, it explodes, severely injuring her. Frank visits her in the hospital and promises to uncover the full truth. Meanwhile, Vincent arrives in Sicily with his men. He captures Gio and ties him up in the town square, yelling for the killer of his brother to come forward, or he'll kill Gio and then everyone else. He fires a shot near Gio's ear, and Robert shouts, "I killed your brother because he tormented these people." Vincent comes face to face with Robert, holding two guns. Robert tells him, "If you want to kill me, go ahead, but don't kill me here." To this, Vincent replies, There's no better place than this to kill you, because I want to teach these people a lesson, that messing with me is a big mistake." Saying this, he points his gun at Robert. But just before Vincent can shoot, Enzo arrives and fires a shot into the air. Enzo tells Vincent, "You can't kill Robert because he's part of our family." Hearing this, all the townspeople start to step forward, turn on their phone flashlights and say, "We won't let you kill Robert." Seeing this unity, Vincent lets Robert go but warns, "You're lucky today, but I'll come back and not only kill you but everyone else too." He then leaves with his men and starts planning an attack on the town. Later that night, as Vincent goes to sleep, his men stand guard outside. One of Vincent's men hears a noise near the car and goes to check. Suddenly, Robert attacks and kills him. Robert had figured out that Vincent would attack the town in the morning, so he decided to strike first. He sneaks into the house, turns off the lights, and kills 3 more of Vincent's men. Then Robert kills the man monitoring the CCTV footage. Meanwhile, a drop of blood falls on Vincent's forehead, waking him up. Just then, the glass ceiling above him shatters, and a dead body of his man drops down, hanging. Vincent realizes someone is killing his men and starts to panic. He walks barefoot over glass shards to get his gun. As he steps out of the room with his gun, Robert ambushes and knocks him unconscious. When Vincent regains consciousness, he finds himself tied up with wires. Robert tells him, "You have only 6 minutes to live because I've injected you with drugs, the same drugs you sold to innocent people, which killed many." Robert then unties Vincent and tells him to run to the hospital if he wants to save his life. Vincent starts running, with Robert chasing him. As soon as Vincent reaches outside, a car hits him, worsening his condition. Moments later, Vincent dies, and Robert quietly leaves. Meanwhile, police raid Vincent's hideouts and arrest all those involved in the drug trade. Then we see Robert visiting Emma in the hospital. Emma says, "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be alive today. I want to thank you." Robert gives her a bag full of money and asks her to give it to an old man living in Boston. That money was the pension stolen from the old man's account. Robert explains that tracing those stolen funds led him to the winery, which is why he went there and killed the gangsters. He found the stolen money in their vault and brought it back. Emma asks, "Who was that old man to you?" Robert replies, "I met him only once." A few days later, Emma visits Boston and hands over the money to the old man. With tears in his eyes, the man says, "If I hadn't received this money, my house would have been sold, and my family would have become homeless." At the end of the story, we see Emma back at her office where she receives an envelope from Robert. Inside it is a diary belonging to her mother. From it, she learns that her parents were Robert's closest friends. Reading the diary brings her joy. Meanwhile, in Sicily, the townspeople are celebrating their football team's victory. Robert is there too, having decided to stay in the town, because he has grown fond of the people. And with that, the story comes to an end.